Imagine sitting in a lobby for 2 hours while everyone else gets called in. The second they realize who you are, everything changes. If Nicole Harris had known how this morning would unfold, she might have worn flats instead of heels. The sharp stilettos she chose were better suited for quick meetings and swift exits, not endless waiting. But there she was, standing under the towering glass atrium of Pinnacle Corporate Tower in Charlotte, North Carolina. She clutched a portfolio under her arm, ready for a meeting she thought could change her career. She'd prepared for weeks, mock interviews, deep research, endless notes. Nicole had anticipated every question Nathan Brooks, the regional manager, might throw her way. Her nerves weren't calm, but she was focused, razor sharp. She arrived first, 15 minutes early, as she'd always been taught. Early is on time is late. The lobby smelled faintly of citrus polish and expensive cologne. A massive, twisting metal sculpture loomed near the elevators. Nicole approached the reception desk, where a young woman, subtly chewing gum, glanced up. "Hi, I'm Nicole Harris. I have a 10-y'all meeting with Nathan Brooks." The receptionist tapped her manicured nails on the keyboard, then picked up the phone. After a brief whisper, she nodded at Nicole. "Mr. Brooks says he'll be right with you. Please have a seat." Nicole smiled politely and settled into a chair by the floor-to-ceiling windows. She crossed her legs, smoothed her skirt, and rested her portfolio on her lap. 5 minutes passed, 10, 15. At first, she wasn't worried. Meetings run late. Important people are busy. She scrolled her phone, reviewing her notes. Her stomach fluttered. But she told herself, "Stay calm. Stay professional. You're here because you deserve to be." Half an hour ticked by. Nicole stood, smoothed her blazer, and returned to the desk. "Excuse me," she said warmly. "Just checking if Mr. Brooks is still available." The receptionist, barely moving from her spot, gave a tight smile that felt more like a period than an answer. "He's wrapping up a call. He said he'll be right with you." Nicole thanked her and sat back down, sitting a bit straighter. The air felt heavier. Was she being impatient? Was this normal here? She watched 2 men in suits walk in, chuckling about a golf game. The receptionist jumped up, offered them coffee, and ushered them through the doors without hesitation. Nicole blinked. Maybe they had appointments too. Maybe not. She didn't want to assume. Still, a knot tightened in her chest. Not anger, not yet, but a deep, stubborn sense that something was off. She pushed it down. "Don't make a scene. Don't be that woman." She checked her phone. 10:58 a.m., nearly an hour gone. She adjusted her blazer again, fingers fidgeting with the seams, her professional armor fraying slightly at the edges. Nicole had no idea this was just the start of her longest morning. By 11:15, Nicole's back ached from the stiff lobby chair. She shifted her weight, hiding the strain. Even in discomfort, she kept her face composed, shoulders relaxed. If anyone was watching, and she was starting to think no one was, they'd see a woman in complete control. Or so she told herself. From her seat, she had a clear view of the reception desk. She watched 2 more visitors arrive, both white men in crisp button-downs and khakis. They were greeted with handshakes, small talk, offered drinks, and escorted back with a casual respect that needed no explanation. Nicole's gaze lingered a moment before she blinked and refocused. Maybe they have standing meetings, she thought. Maybe they're just more important. But the thought sat like a stone in her gut. She gripped her portfolio tighter, each minute stretching longer than the last. The receptionist didn't glance her way again. No one did. Nicole might as well have been part of the furniture. She wasn't just ignored. She was erased, as if her presence was an inconvenience, her patient waiting a silent problem. She scanned the room. A janitor pushed a cart of supplies, an older man with gray hair tucked under a faded cap. Their eyes met briefly. His look wasn't dismissive or rushed, just human, a nod of quiet understanding between two people used to waiting for others to notice them. Nicole smiled softly, then looked down. She didn't want anyone thinking she was loitering or distracting. Even now, she calculated every move, every glance, every breath. Minutes later, a tall woman in a sharp navy pantsuit entered. Nicole recognized her instantly. Vanessa Caldwell, Vice President of Operations. She'd seen Vanessa on panels, speaking at leadership summits. The receptionist practically leapt to her feet. "Good morning, Miss Caldwell. Coffee? Water?" Vanessa waved her off politely and glided past, heading for the elevators. Nicole's throat tightened. She sat even straighter, adjusted her blazer, trying to look busy, important, necessary. At 11:30, Nicole stood again and approached the desk cautiously. "Hi," she said, voice even. "Just wondering if I should reschedule. It's been quite a while." The receptionist's eyes widened for half a second, like she'd forgotten Nicole was there. "Oh, Mr. Brooks is just finishing a call. He should be right with you." Same line, same tight smile, same nothing. Nicole swallowed hard, tasting shame she hadn't asked for, shame she shouldn't have to carry. She nodded, more to herself than the woman, and sat back down. This time, crossing her legs, she felt a heat behind her eyes, a slow, quiet burn buried under her polished exterior. She wouldn't cry, she wouldn't squirm, she wouldn't give anyone the satisfaction of seeing her unravel. The lobby clock ticked, and she heard it. But time wasn't the only thing moving. Something inside Nicole shifted too, and it didn't shift back. By 11:58 a.m., Nicole stared at her phone, willing the digits to slow down. 2 full hours, and no one had offered a real update. The lobby hummed softly with footsteps, printer whirs, and hushed conversations filtering through glass walls. Life buzzed around her, but Nicole sat in the middle of it, invisible, like a shadow no one cared to acknowledge. She scanned the room again. The receptionist giggled quietly with the delivery guy dropping off lunch orders. Across the way, 2 men in blazers clinked coffee cups in a silent toast before heading upstairs. Meanwhile, Nicole stayed silent, her thoughts growing louder. Would they let a white man sit here for 2 hours? Would Nathan make someone else wait this long without explanation? Am I paranoid, oversensitive, or am I just invisible? She shifted her legs, extending one slightly to ease the numbness. Her heel scraped softly on the polished marble floor. A few heads turned, quick, darting glances that hit hard. Not friendly, not curious, but annoyed, like she was disrupting something important. Nicole pressed her lips together, her breath catching. She straightened her legs and sat perfectly still. She thought of her mother, back in Augusta, Georgia, telling her as a girl, "You gotta be twice as good, baby, just to get half as far." At the time, Nicole thought it was just something older folks said. But now, sitting in this grand, gleaming lobby, those words weighed heavier than ever. She opened her portfolio again, pretending to review her notes. But she'd memorized them already. She wasn't reading. She was hiding the shame, anger, and exhaustion building inside her. Suddenly, she caught movement from the corner of her eye. Nathan Brooks. There he was, stepping out from the glass doors behind the reception desk, tall, wiry, with a graying goatee and a crisp white shirt. He chatted casually with another manager, laughing about something, a tablet tucked under his arm. Nicole sat taller, willing herself to be seen. Nathan's gaze swept the lobby. It passed over her like she was a chair, a table, something incidental. Then he disappeared through another door, conversation unbroken. Nicole leaned back, a hollow ache blooming in her chest. Not anger, not confusion, but something deeper. A bone-deep weariness with no bottom. She considered standing up and leaving, just walking out, preserving the scraps of dignity she felt she had left. But she stayed, because deep down, she knew walking away would feel like giving up. And Nicole Harris didn't give up. Not when she knew she deserved better. Not when she'd worked twice as hard to get here. The receptionist flicked her a glance, then quickly returned to her computer screen. Nicole caught it. It wasn't sympathy or concern, it was mild irritation, like Nicole's presence was an inconvenience. Nicole's hands tightened on her lap, knuckles paling against her dark skirt. But just when she thought the day couldn't get worse, the entrance doors swung open, and everything changed in an instant. The sharp click of polished shoes on marble made Nicole look up. Not one pair, but several. The doors parted wide, and a small group of impeccably dressed professionals, 5 in total, strode in with a quiet authority that needed no announcement. You could feel the energy shift, the way the receptionist sat up, smoothing her blouse, the way nearby conversations hushed for a moment. Nicole's heart skipped. She recognized 2 of them immediately. Richard Langley, CEO of the entire company, and Karen Mitchell, Chief Financial Officer, power players who didn't just make decisions, they shaped futures. Nicole froze, unsure whether to stand. But before she could move, Karen caught her eye and smiled. A real smile, warm and genuine. "Nicole Harris," Karen called, her voice carrying clearly across the lobby. "I didn't know you were coming today." The words bounced off the high ceilings, and suddenly every head in the lobby, including Nathan Brooks's, snapped toward Nicole. For a split second, time stopped. Nicole stood, smoothing her skirt one last time, tucking her portfolio under her arm like a shield. She walked forward, heels clicking softly but confidently on the floor. Richard reached her first, extending a hand. "Good to see you again, Nicole," he said warmly. "We were just talking about you last week. Your presentation at the Leadership Summit, outstanding work." Nicole shook his hand firmly, offering a calm, gracious smile. "Thank you, Mr. Langley. It's an honor to see you again." Behind them, Nathan Brooks froze, his mouth parting just enough to look foolish before snapping shut. He hurried forward, his face reddening with every step, looking smaller now, his easy arrogance gone. "Harris," he blurted, voice too loud, too bright. "I'm so sorry you had to wait. We had a situation. No excuses. My personal apologies." Nicole turned to him, her face a carefully composed mask of polite surprise. "2 hours is quite a situation, Mr. Brooks," she said evenly, loud enough for the group to hear. Nathan's face twitched. Richard raised an eyebrow. Karen crossed her arms loosely, watching with quiet interest. Nathan mumbled something about being swamped, calls, emergencies, but no one was listening. The board members' focus was on Nicole now, on how she stood, calm and collected, every inch the professional she'd always been. Karen touched Nicole's elbow lightly. "If you have time, why don't you join us in the executive conference room? We'd love to pick your brain on a few projects." Nicole smiled graciously. "I'd be delighted." Nathan tried to insert himself again, muttering offers to carry her things, fetch coffee, anything she needed. Nicole just turned slightly, aligning herself with Karen and Richard, leaving Nathan standing awkwardly behind. As they walked to the elevators, Nicole didn't look back, but she felt Nathan's embarrassment burning into her back like the Carolina sun. For the first time that morning, Nicole allowed herself a faint smile. But Nathan had no idea the real consequences of that morning were yet to unfold. In the executive conference room, everything felt different. The air was lighter, the smiles genuine, the conversation flowed easily. Nicole's name was no longer buried on a waiting list. She was at the center of the room. Richard slid a folder across the glossy table toward her. "We're in the early stages of a new leadership initiative," he said. "After seeing your work at the summit, we'd like you to take a key role." Nicole opened the folder carefully. Inside were plans, timelines, even preliminary budget approvals. They weren't just inviting her to a meeting, they were offering her a seat at the table. Karen leaned in, voice low but firm. "We need more people like you, Nicole. People who spot gaps before anyone else does. People who lead without stepping on others to get there." Nicole nodded slowly, absorbing it all. She asked sharp questions, offered incisive suggestions, and noticed how they listened. Not out of politeness, but respect. Across the room, through the glass, Nathan Brooks lingered awkwardly near his office, glancing at the conference room, probably wondering how the woman he'd left waiting was now being courted by the company's most powerful players. Nicole caught his eye and held it. She didn't smile or frown, just looked calm, steady, unflinching. Then she turned back to the real conversation happening in front of her. An hour later, Richard stood, offering his hand again. "Think it over," he said. "But personally, I'd love to see you in this role." Nicole shook his hand firmly. "I appreciate the opportunity. I'll give it serious thought." As she gathered her things, Karen walked her to the door. "By the way," Karen said casually, like commenting on the weather, "if you ever have issues with how you're treated here, come straight to me. No middlemen." Nicole smiled, a real soft, knowing smile. "Thank you, Karen. I'll keep that in mind." The doors closed behind her, leaving Nathan alone in the hallway, pretending to shuffle papers he wasn't reading. But Nicole didn't yet know this moment would ripple far beyond one meeting. The following week, Nicole received a formal offer letter. The leadership initiative wasn't just a side project. It was a direct path to an executive regional role, a higher salary, real influence, a chance to build something lasting. She accepted, not for validation, not for revenge, but because she'd earned it. Every late night, every ignored email, every silent slight she'd endured over the years had led to this. That same morning, when Nicole's promotion was announced, Nathan Brooks was called into a closed-door meeting. Rumors spread fast, whispers in break rooms, sidelong glances in elevators. No one said it aloud, but everyone knew. His cavalier arrogance had finally caught up. Too many complaints, too many missed meetings, too many women, especially women of color, left waiting in lobbies like forgotten packages. By Friday, Nathan's nameplate was gone from his office door. Nicole didn't celebrate or gloat. She just moved forward, step by step, like always. Her first major meeting as a leader was packed. Department heads, senior managers, new hires. Nicole stood at the head of the long conference table, her cream blouse and charcoal skirt, a kind of armor. She opened her presentation's first slide and said, "Good ideas don't care where they come from. Neither should we." The room leaned in. They listened, because this wasn't just about one morning anymore. It was about changing how things were done. Nicole's rise wasn't about ego or vengeance. It was about a quiet promise she'd made herself, sitting in that lobby for 2 hours, unseen by anyone. I won't let them define my worth. I won't shrink to fit a space I meant to lead. For every young woman coming after her, especially those who looked like her, Nicole made it her mission to ensure they wouldn't have to wait as long to be seen. Sometimes people don't see your value until others validate it. But that doesn't mean your value wasn't always there. Stay in the room. Be ready. Your moment will come. And when it does, walk into it unapologetically. If this story touched you even a little, don't let it pass by. Share it. Talk about it. Because sometimes one story changes everything.